Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DrBrilmann. I'm joined here by none other than Zanzarah.
Hi, hi.
And we are back with the Champions Q EUEdition, as we're gonna have a hot look on whatever was happening on the EU Masters, because there's quite a fair amount of ground to cover, including the fact that we got a request this time around for the second rendition of our little podcast. And thank you very much for that request. We got a request to look at the draft that happened in the best of 5 series of Agarok against Team LDLC. And we're gonna deliver our hot takes at whatever we can expect coming into the MSI that's just about to begin, actually. Just a few days left, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, I think it starts like in 2 days.
This is going to be really exciting to see what the teams are going to present to us, and maybe we'll find some similar patterns in the EU Master MSI. Maybe not, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember what your master was played like on, I think like 2 patches delayed, but like what is patch right now? I don't remember exactly, but it's like 12.6, I think they were playing your masters.
Yeah,
on,
I think so.
And the MSI gonna be 12.8, 12.9. Can't say correctly. So it's like a lot of things changed, But I think. I mean, we can see like similar champions for sure, just because like people not really like willing to change their like preference, I think, in terms of champion choices that fast.
And before we go into any like specific details, I think that it's a good idea to try to establish what we've seen just overall, because I think there's a way to sort of define teams' compositions and try to pinpoint like what was working, what not working. But just in general, I feel like we're getting quite similar patterns from most of the teams, or let's say from definitely from the LFL teams, which is, by the way, it's not European Masters, it's the League of France Masters, just in case you haven't noticed. And I feel like going and looking into the Carmine Carp against Vitality B, or Carmine Carp against LDLC, we can see a very similar approach to what are our compositions and what do we want to do with those compositions. Or am I stand corrected?
Yeah, I mean, I think. I mean, I would put. I mean, like. How do I phrase it? So basically, both. I think like most of the LFL teams trying to play just weak side top and like play for bot lane, just have like hyper carry or like or Zaya. I mean, I still count like Zaya as a hyper carry for now, because she's like, there is like no late game for her to downscale. I mean, we also have like K-Corp, who are kind of willing to play more to top side. But I think overall like meta is like pretty clear was on this EU Masters, and we saw actually what like tanks kind of lost in a final, just because Kickoff finally like just banned Ord. And like then like banned Cyan, and the LDLC was like not able to pick a like good tank on top, and they had to go like for something like Gragas stuff. So yeah, like it was kind of hard, but yeah, like I mean, basically most of the teams, they were just like people just chilling early game, just pick stable mid game with like mage on mid lane, LeBlanc if it's open, and then you just like play to bot, just let your carries advantage, and they're gonna win you the game. So like it is like as simple as that, not like crazy roams, like swaps, just basically only team fights everywhere.
And it feels like, at least to me, right now, it feels like one of those very safe ways of executing a composition. Because we've seen that in the beginning of the split, in the beginning of the spring split, and for example in Ultraliga, right? When most of the times the best way to go for it is to not pick any kinds of shenanigans to the top side, or pick a split pusher slash carry, because there was Hullbreaker, right? We don't have the Hullbreaker right now. Or
I mean, we saw Hullbreaker several times, but yeah, of course it's like much weaker compared to how it was like in the start of the split, I think.
Yeah, like in the start of the split, you could just pick Camille or Gwen or Graves, put a Hullbreaker on top of them, and just go do your stuff, and we're just gonna carry along and see what you can do. And then, for example, the Camille or Nar or Graves again, right? They would be just basically single-handedly decimating the whole rift, while the rest of the team would be looking at it. Right now, we don't really have it. And
yeah, I mean, I agree on that one. I agree, but I think, I mean, like you can also pick melee champions right now with the Hullbreaker, right? Not like like nothing changed for the melee champions. They nerf Hullbreaker for the range one, but the more point is, like, I think just in the regular league, people just they prefer to play team fights because it's just much simple to execute, And even when we saw, like, on the start of the split, people like playing this Camille, Gwen, right? Like, you just see, like, and it's minute 20 and they're still like 5 million, They're not using their champions properly. And then, of course, if you like do like this, then you start feeling like tanks is just doing like much better jobs on top side. And you can just do the same, but you just pick tank, and then you just start up team fights. You just press one button, you engage fight, you get like Nasher, and you can end the game. You don't need to care about how the wave state, when can you push, how do we provide vision for the split pusher, this kind of stuff. So like as I said, like in the previous video, this is just much easier. I think people just like kind of. Yeah, they just you're trying to like so basically teams just trying to make less windows for errors, So they can focus on their gameplay, and they don't need to like overthink things, I don't think it's like the best strategy overall, like from what you can get from it, I still think like good split push like DrBrilmann with Hullbreaker, and if your laner knows how to do like what to do with this lead, and how to make pressure on the map, you can like reach much higher level. But I think it's just like too hard, and people don't really want to like learn it, and people just kind of like focus on like next game, like, yeah, we have a game to play in 3 days, we just want to win this, and of course, like if you have like this kind of a mindset, you cannot really make a like insanely good structure. You're just trying to like get this win, and then you try to get next win, and then you just kind of stuck in one dimension.
Yeah, in this one never-ending loop.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but as much as I can understand, we also see a very big popularity, especially in those in RAL leagues and the European Masters. But we see a lot of popularity coming from junglers that can secure a stable, nice, good feeling early to mid game. Things like Jarvan, things like Volibear, that will just guaranteed work. It will always provide you the lead you need, or at least not let you fall behind. And now we don't really see loads of things that we've seen in the beginning of the split, right? Like things like Karthus, for example, because about even in the middle of the spring split, it felt like Karthus jungle was an extremely viable option, and it was working really great. But I don't really see it to be too popular right now. I don't think we've seen it picked in quite a lot of time, to be honest.
I mean, I think it's like important to remember about like the jungle champions, what like currently in meta. Like jungle champions is like always dependent on like what champions are strong on lanes. Because, I mean, if you take the Karthus example, I'm pretty sure Karthus is more than playable. You can do whatever you want, right? But if you just check around the whole team composition, you don't have like many AD mid laners, right? And Karthus want to be a single AP in this regard. This is important for him because, like, then if enemy build them out, they struggle much more with AD champions. And if they don't, Karthus ultimate just deal like full HP like at once. So I think the meta just chief like jungle meta, not like it's important to understand like jungle champions. What like we see right now, Volibear jungle, they're not like in isolation the strongest junglers. Because they have some problems, you know, like Volibear has a really good early game, but he down scale pretty hard. DrBrilmann DrBrilmann has the same problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they just overall they fit really good compositions who wanna just wanna breach early game and just wanna like stable front line later on. So just pick these champions and you don't need to think, right? Because like for example when you pick Viego, there is like much more like problems and much more solutions to them. You have to find them, right? And why do you do that? Like if you can just pick DrBrilmann, like no matter what, like in every composition, right? Just do that. That's all. So yeah, I mean this is like important to understand because like jungle meta is like always depends on how like other laners work. You know, it's like on mid lane you can play the strongest champion and everyone gonna adapt, and this is like how jungle works like most of the time.
And since we're starting to have a more specific look on it, let's dive a little bit deeper into this because there's also occasions, let's put it this way, when something out of the blue happens and we see stuff appear there, and it can either work or prove it to be a very, very, very not working and very, very bad. So one of the things that worked, and it is something that interests me a lot actually, if it's more of a individual skill or something that we can actually potentially see in future, is Kha'Zix, right? Because LDLC Yike has been pulling out a Kha'Zix, especially in that series that we've got a request to talk about, which will the Agarok against LDLC. So he was a very big threat on the Rift, okay? He was really, really, really popping people off. So how actually possible it is that we're gonna see more of those, more of those carry junglers? Because right now, as you said, we have most of them trying to fit into the composition that is built around the solo laners and the carries and whatnot. But what if actually we're gonna see a bit of a shift towards the carry jungle? Do you think that's possible? Because I don't know really.
I mean, it's like depends. I mean, I don't really count Kha'Zix as a carry jungler. For me, carry jungler is like champions more like Diana, who are just like wanna get their items and then they're gonna win you like team fights solo, right? Like we saw he was like playing Kha'Zix like a bruiser Kha'Zix. So it was basically just like another front laner who had like insane slow right on his W. But yeah, like I mean, the first of all, like it's important to mention what Yike is just good Kha'Zix. I think it was like his signature champion. He was like playing it a lot in solo queue like every time. So I think his like point of view on this champion is more about like he's fine into Viego, so he just pick it into Viego when it's possible. But we see like he didn't pick it, like he picked it once versus Ego, and then he didn't pick it like at all. He was like more to go his Viego, his DrBrilmann. Yeah, like he didn't play Volibear, I think. That much, so like I think he don't really like this champion. But yeah, like overall, I think I mean there is like jungle always works like this. Like you can have like a lot of situations in draft when you can have like you can pick not a meta champion, but it's important to understand why champion is not the meta, right? Kha'Zix, for example, he doesn't really have this a lot of like good matchups, right? And his jungle clear not that best compared to like Volibear, Jarvan, like just top junglers. So this is why he's not like picking, you know, because it's important to remember also what most of the time you pick jungle early on, you pick it blind, so you need to pick champion what gonna be a good all around, right? So who's not really depends on a lot of stuff happening, right? And if you blind Kha'Zix, you can get punished pretty hard, right? By any tank, you know. But like the same as like if you pick like Voli, right? You can't really play Kha'Zix into Volibear. This kind of stuff, you know. But I think it's just there's like for sure like rooms, you know, to pick stable champions. Like we also saw like from Agorok, right? We saw like not Diana, like Evelyn, right? Like we didn't see the champion for a long time, right? But Rubble picked it, and he feel pretty comfortable. Just more about like personal preference, I think. If people think the champion is good and they can do something in this game, it's can give a lot of value, right? But it's also can lose you the game, you know. And it's overall, I think the same. Also depends on how team works, because in some teams, junglers is like main threat, and the junglers is the guy who gonna give the lead, you know, and drag his team to win the game. But in some teams, jungle is just security, you know. You just make sure to not lose early game, make sure your lane is safe, to make sure like all vision is placed in the right spots. Then like for use like in this kind of team, then like there is no reason to pick something what gonna make additional risk, right? For you because you know like maybe your strong point is mid laner or AD carry, and you just want everything to work for them. So yeah, I mean, I think it's still gonna be. I mean, like probably like overall we're gonna still see like Volibear, Jarvan, maybe like then one of them is out, like Zanzarah gonna show up, you know. But I think it was like more like you masters thing, and just like the one game champions most of the time, and I don't think it's gonna change the whole like meta into more like bruisers, scary junglers.
I would probably expect things like Hecarim maybe to reappear too, because as much as I saw him work pretty similarly in a certain way to junglers like Volibear, for example, right? You are pretty quick to get to the lane. You're very good at ganking. You're very good at securing those needed leads, and of course the Onslaught of the Shadows really provides a lot of versatility in teamfight, and not only actually in team fights, but even in fights for objectives, right? So you can have a very big impact when you're fighting for a dragon. You can potentially steal it with an Onslaught of the Shadows too, right? This is something that I believe every solo queue jungler just loves to do, to use your ultimate as Hecarim or as Volibear, to just jump in, jump out, and, you know, bye, have a great time, and you just yoinked accidentally that objective, and then you just say, yes, that was calculated, while your heart is about to explode. Right, so I would say that this is probably going to return, and maybe Nocturne as well, because I feel like it has been severely underused when, in my eyes, especially thanks to the Lights Out ultimate, to the Paranoia, I feel like there's so much tactical potential that is not being used.
Yeah, I mean, about Hecarim is he just like got pretty hard nerfed, not gonna lie, right? Just kind of destroy him. I think they took like 20 damage on his Q, just like on a later stage. So yeah, it helped him like a lot, especially because you're like going in a tank build. So probably we're not gonna see Hecarim on MSI, but next patch I think Riot is buffing Hecarim, so maybe we're gonna see it like later on. But yeah, like about Nocturne, yeah, I think it's like he has a place for sure. Like some people can pick it, but right now, yeah, I think right now all the teams they're kind of looking. Okay, you have like Volibear, Jarvan, but what else? Well, because yeah, we see already like Volibear ban from one side, and then people just jumping on like on a call for. Some people just go on Zanzarah because they were playing it before, right? And they kind of know the limits, they know what this champion does, and they know what he can do, right? Also, like there is like on the live patch there is Wukong buffed, right? So maybe we can see some Wukong. I personally like some Nocturne also because I played it. I played it a little bit in solo queue, and it seems pretty decent overall. So yeah, I think this is the hard part right now. It just I think people just still didn't figure it out what they wanna like. What is the like top 3 jungler? and people just like playing what they feel comfortable, you know. Like for example, for LDLC, what we saw, it was Viego, right? Because Yaik was really good Viego, you know. I don't think Viego is the strongest champion right now, but he feels like super comfortable in it, right? They have like good drafts with it always, like they have good setup for Viego, and for them it's working, right? But for other teams it will probably not work, you know, if they have like the different setup overall.
Yeah, and just even speaking about champions like Xin, I mean, thinking about it, in the beginning of the split, Xin was probably one of the most big junglers, or at the very least, he was extremely popular when it comes to Ultraliga for sure, for example, right? So even now, jumping on things like Xin, it just feels like, yeah, we've been doing that for the whole split. We've been practicing with that for the whole split, so it probably will work, right? Because we just know what we're doing.
I mean, of course, but it's like but there is a reason why Xin is not in the meta, right? Because he got like nerfed several times. This is important, but yeah, like, but this is like proved one more time. But people like invest so much time to champion, you know, and even after the nerf, they just, I mean, they just like down to just jump at it, you know, instead of looking for champions who are like probably can do better job. But then you need to invest time again, right, into that.
Yeah.
And like, I think people don't have like, they don't want to do that, or they just don't have like enough time for that. And they just like, okay, guys, these 3 champions we're playing, and we're just gonna keep playing these 3 champions. And yeah, I mean, I cannot say if it's like bad or good, right? But
it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
And we've seen some like other occasional picks now and there. We've seen. I'm gonna probably butcher the pronunciation of that team, but it's Czerwona Zvezda.
Yeah, something like this.
Yeah, something like this. So they've pulled out a Nudier. Didn't work, but they've put it out anyway. Then we've seen Eintracht Spandau to try and bring out Lilia as well. So Poppy was also out there by BDS Academy, right? So we occasionally see some of the picks that may or may not work, but it just feels like right now we're stuck in this never-ending loop of we have Volibear Jarvan, and then maybe somebody comes into the equation, says hi, and then runs out of it absolutely immediately. So hopefully that will change for the MSI.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, for sure it should be changed, because I think, like, why we see, like a lot of this kind of champions in EU Masters, because I think there were, like, a lot of games when there is, like, clear favorite, right? And the other one is, like, underdog. So underdog just trying to kind of surprise, and this is this is what can win you the games. So I think this is why we saw like a lot of like this not standard picks, like overall what we are not used to, like Saraka, Vladimir, right? Like what else, like Lucians, this kind of stuff, right? They just like trying to use this like surprise factor versus the teams. But yeah, I mean, it's not always like champions is bad, you know. And I think overall, like Udyr, like pretty fine. I think right now you can like play it, you know. But the team who are like playing it, it was just like, yeah, it was a hard matchup for them overall. It's understandable, but we shouldn't like mark the champions as bad, you know. I think if it was working in their own league, you know, it's the champion for sure has potential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not even trying to mark something bad or good, just wondering what we're gonna see and wondering how it works. Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up the jungle matchup relatively clearly, right? Because we'll see what we have at the MSI. It's about to begin very, very shortly. We can have a look at what will be presented there. For now, though, I would say it's pretty much safe to say that Volibear and Jarvan are just the biggest picks that we have overall. So coming into other lanes as well, I feel like we haven't seen. We both haven't and have seen a lot of creativity, right? Because for the most part, it is what we have been talking about for quite a lot when people are trying to go for those really stable picks, something that just will work, weak side top. But on the other hand, sometimes things pop up and it works quite well, may or may not, depends, right? So pretty much one of the populars that we have right now is gonna be Gnar. It's gonna be Cyan, Camille, Ornn, Jace. Well, Jace maybe not that much because
not that much.
A little bit of a different type of champion, but either it's gonna be a bruiser or a fighter, right? So, not a fighter, sorry, a tank, right?
Yeah.
So you just leave him alone. They're isolated on the island, and just let him have his fun. But we also see an introduction of some either familiar faces or some new faces. So Akali, Gwen, and Graves, they slowly make their way back as well. Especially if, thanks to those players who like to play very hard-hitting top lane. And I see this personally as a bit of a delight, to be honest. We had GP also. GP and Rumble, actually, to make an appearance too. I believe one very particular Odoamne right now is smiling to see Rumble. And we've seen Lucian actually reintroduced to the solo lanes as a sort of a counter pick. So, I am a bit like not to say confused, but I'm a bit interested how this is gonna play out as we're gonna progress into the MSI and then the summer split, because tanks are tanks. This is pretty much of the standard thing, right? You just leave them alone until the 14th minute. You don't do anything with them. Maybe you gank them once, but they're basically having their own game of League of Legends. So there's not a lot of things to do with. But what about those a bit more proactive picks, right? Because Akali, Gwen, Graves, Lucian, I don't really feel like you can just leave them alone and just, go have your fun. We're gonna talk later.
I mean, it's all, like, of course, it's like it's important to see like both sides, right? Because if it's like Gwen versus tank, you can like just leave them alone. Nothing gonna happen anyway, and Gwen is like happy to do nothing and just reach like 2 items and win the game. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like I think it's still, like most of the teams who were like picking the like champions like Akali, Lucian, Gwen, they still were like playing mainly those like mid and the bot side. I don't think we saw like a lot of attention to top side, but yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty hard to execute most of the champions, especially like Lucian, right? You understand like point of Camille, Gnar, and Gwen, because they just good into tanks, right? And then if you have this matchup like one of these three into a tank, it's kind of force enemy team to pay attention to top lane, and they wanna kind of shut down top side also. So with this, with this thing, you can just play towards bot lane, and enemy can't really respond to lane plays. But champions like Lucian, I think mostly I saw Lucian into Gnar, right? Because it was like counter pick before, right? Some people like Sogenda, I think from Vitality, he was playing like a lot of this. I mean, I think Lucian is a good counter pick to Gnar, right? If you wanna just like get lead on top side, just shut down this top laner. But definitely you don't like pick Lucian, just pick Lucian, right? It's I mean, if you get like face into into Ornn, he just like after Tibis you're not dealing damage, and especially after Frozen Heart. It's like pretty. I mean, this is why this champion is kind of like out of the matter, right? There's like a lot of situations when if tank gets one kill, you're like not killing him like ever. He can just run you down. He can like much more useful in team fights. But I think it was like more like people. I think some of the teams was not that comfortable with the tanks, and maybe some top players were like didn't really want to play tanks. And they were trying to just pick bruisers, because most of the time bruisers are good into tanks, and then you feel bad to pick tank into bruiser. And then we saw this match, like one guy picking Gnar and blind picking Gnar, and like someone just answered with Lucian, and then it's like fist fight on top. Who wins probably wins the game. So pretty volatile. I think I mean it's like there is a for sure place for this to work. And I think for some teams it was working pretty well, especially like for Vitality. I really like how they were like playing with not the tanks on top side, with Akali, with Lucian. They were like able to transition this lead to other lanes and make it useful, not like your Lucian just chilling on an island and doing something, I guess. But I think for most of the teams, they realize, I mean, I can just pick tank. I can just go like worst case minus 40 CS, but I'm still a tank, right?
Yeah.
I can just go mid. I can go on like 15 minutes and just press one button. That is like important like to know also, because like most of the teams, they have problems to transition from like early game to mid game, and this like from 15 to 20 minutes. So if you have a tank, what do? You can just like go to any objective and just start it, and if an enemy comes, you just press ultimate, right? But if you play champions like Lucian, Akali, it's much harder. You don't have this like easy engage, like one button engage. You don't have a guy who can just like literally stay in front and just face check every bush. So you need to be much more flexible. You need to look for opportunities, right? You need to play around vision. You need to punish enemy mistakes, and this is much harder, right? So what we do, we just pick tank. That's all.
It's basically a solution to anything. Just pick tank.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying this is like the best way, but it's the easiest. That if you do this, you can just like you don't really care what happens on top side, and you can just completely focus on both side. Just give you lead to your like Aphelios. We have like a lot of like really great ADCs. I think like Exakick, Jeskla, Reckless. Like all these ADCs. Like if they get lead, they can lead you solo the game. So like you just don't want to like care about top side. You just want to like put full attention to the bot side of the map. So I think just most of the time like teams like most of the time teams just like use this logic and they don't really care like but maybe like but some teams they were like I mean some top laners they just don't really like tanks. So hey, I just want to play Lucian, guys. Let's pick Lucian.
This is actually something that you've been talking about Sagenda, but there's also Cabochard who picks Lucian into stuff like Graves, for example, into Malphite, right? And it's, well, let's say based on the statistics, it works, right? So I see this sort of an interesting pattern of it works as a counter pick. Sometimes it also works, but there's a very big question mark whether it's gonna work or not.
I mean, it's so it was a meme, I think, in your masters. I think when like LDLC was like 12-0, right? And everyone like, oh my god, they're so good, right? And then if you check their stats, right, everything works, right? Because they're like 100% win rate on everything. But you can do it, right? I mean, I think like for K-Corp the same thing. They're just a really good team, right? And like there was a lot of times you're matching versus team who are like lower than you. And you just you can just like pick Lucian into top, into Graves, and this kind of stuff. But it's actually important to know. But we were like talking, a lot of people were like playing for bot side, right? Most of the teams, but K-Corp one of the teams who are like playing for top. Like it was like a lot of stuff, a lot of times. The K-Corp, the one who are playing the top side, and I think they were like succeeding it. It's like they did have a problem. Like Reckless was like really good play big side. Like Reckless had like a lot of experience playing it. They did have like bad waves. They were like always countering like both side plays, and they getting consistent leads on top side. But like they were like shaky just because they were like throwing in mid game. But it doesn't change the fact that they were pretty good in early game, and they were playing versus top teams, and they were like punishing these tanks. So Cabochard overall, he was like more like carry player, right? I mean they show us like different actually strategy, and at the end actually it works, right? They won the EU Masters. Versus LDLC who like playing only kind of tanks, and Cabochard was like able to get elite on this one. So I mean, I think it's just team dependent. I think just because like K-Corp was like really good playing to top side, you can use the champions, right? But you don't pick this kind of a champions if you play to bot side, right? Then you need to change the role.
Yeah, absolutely. And then actually looking at the whole thing, it's interesting to make a little transition into the mid lane too, right? Because Well, first of all, thanks for the rework of Ari. We have much more of her, which I find a personal delight. We've seen Veigar to reappear as well.
He got buffed also, so...
Yeah, and seems to be like a decent answer into Ari as well, right?
I think it's... yeah... it's like... On mid lane, it's pretty hard to say, like, what is the answer, right? Because... Yeah, Ari's can't really like do much versus Veigar, right? But it's still, for example, level 6 power spike. Veigar cannot match, right? And he kinda eventually have to give up price. So, like from one perspective, you can say, yeah, Veigar just like one shot Ari like after like 20 minutes in the game. But from other side, it's like, yeah, Veigar staying under the tower and Ari is like wrong everywhere. So. For one team, it could be counter pick. For others, not so much. But I think it just. I think we just saw more, like teams were like playing slower early game in general. So this is why Veigar was like more working into Ari. I don't think it would like work the same way. For example, if you play versus G2, right? G2 would just Caps would just like out roam you, just kill your laners, and there's just like you cannot match it, you know. And then it doesn't really found the counter. But in the Masters it works so.
Yeah, and it's just in general, looking at amount of champions that we have in the mid lane, it seems like one of the most fun cheese lanes that we can have, because let me just put it straight, okay? I saw Vel'Koz, I am happy, I'm delighted, I can go die in peace now, because I've seen Vel'Koz, and I don't want to know anything else.
We saw also that it's a lot of things, but yeah, it's like it's important to understand why we have like so many champions right now, admittedly. Why we saw so many champions. It's just because most of the time you pick mid lane as a counter pick, right? So you have like options to just go like Vel'Koz, right? If they don't have enough engage, and like Zanzarah at the same time, you know. I think LDLC. Yeah, I think LDLC was the one who like, really fun of just counter pick me, just pick Veigar, Zerat, just play 20 minutes. If enemy make one mistake, you win the game instantly. Something like this. It's good, but
if it works, it works, right?
It didn't work. Yeah, we saw Azir from Seiken, right? Like it's insane performance in finals.
Insane, absolutely.
Yeah, Vel'Koz was like from Agorok, I think, from Knight. But Knight was well known, even like from Gamer Legion times with his champion pool. I think he like able to pull out this kind of champs. So yeah, on mid lane, you just like you can pick whatever you want on mid lane most of the time, if you are good at it, and if your team knows what you need from them.
Yeah.
So like I think like overall, like historically, you have like the widest champion pool is from mid lane, right? And like we saw like a lot of picks, but it's also to remember like LeBlanc was banned a lot of times, Ryze was banned, right, a lot of times. So there was like a lot of mid bans. Ari also was banned most of the times, right? Because people didn't really want to play it. But
she was out of the equation quite a lot of time. That is true.
Yeah, but I think just later on, people kind of again, like, you know, just shifted their prior, as I said, like towards like late game, you know, because they were like not happy. They were like not able to execute Ari early game properly. So like, what the point to pick Ari if I can pick like Veigar? I'll just pick Veigar and just press K just 24/7.
Yeah, or LeBlanc, for example, even as well, right?
Yeah,
super amount of LeBlancs in the Masters.
In my book, LeBlanc kind of the same champion as Ari, like in terms of like when she get power spikes, right, and what she's supposed to do. But I think people maybe were like more comfortable with LeBlanc, and maybe she were like more consistent. And this is why she also was a good answer into Ari, right? So this is why maybe like we didn't see Ari that much.
We also have seen, well, actually, even speaking about the historical. Let me jump back here just for a second, because speaking about this historical way the mid lane looks in terms of champions, even if you think about it, but the standard exchange of Twisted Fate and Sylas comes from a pretty much of a similar logic, right? They've got Twisted Fate, we need something to match the roam, we need something to roam too, so we're gonna pick Sylas so that we steal the ultimate and we just go and have fun. And we pretty much have seen Silas being used as one of those counter picks. We've seen Silas into Twisted Fate, played actually by Dplex from Vitality, right? We've seen Silas to be played into Ari to match the Spirit Rush, to match the ultimates. So it pretty much makes sense. But there's also a lot of these like little things that pop up from time to time. We had Rice, of course, one of those Romy champions. We had Syndra as, again, as a counter pick. And then also what I loved, and I think that there's one very specific veteran pro player who has retired, but momentarily is a very fantastic addition to the LAC casting team. Kadril. He was probably extremely delighted to see Malzahar not canceling his ultimate while casting on Tempt.
I mean, I mean, we saw this kind of a champions. I think, I mean, they were like not always like giving a huge success to the teams. I think. I still think like picks like Malzahar and. They're more like optimistic picks, right? Yeah, I mean, you can pick them, right? Nothing stopped you. But I think if you want to win the game, you are like much better choices most of the time. So yeah, I mean, as I said like before, like a lot of options, right? I mean, I don't remember, but I think Malzahar was picked like into LeBlanc, right?
Yeah.
Because Malzahar is good champion into LeBlanc, like historically was. So yeah, as I said, like on mid lane there's like so many tools to counter pick enemy mid laner, and I feel like sometimes people just went like too far, right? It's of course like we are all pro players, but it's hard to be like equally good on like more than 10 champions. Let's be honest, it's most pro have like 3 champions who are like really high, and then others is like I can play that, right? But if you jump to this kind of like completely forgotten champions like Malzahar, I mean maybe like the players that feel comfortable completely, but maybe team is not that comfortable with this champion because I'm pretty sure they didn't have that much practice with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, speaking of it all, wait. I am looking at. I've seen somewhere accidentally a Skarner ban, but I can't find it right now, and I was super delighted to see that Skarner ban.
I think I saw it. I think it was second rotation ban, maybe.
I found it by Aggo. Aggo banned it against oh god, no, it's Eintracht Spandau.
Yeah, because it was Opsis, the jungler, and he was like his historical was like playing a lot of Skull also, so it's understandable.
I love Skarner. I can't help myself. Okay, let's go a little bit lower because there's also one little thing that I would like to. Yeah, that sounded a bit strange, but okay. Because there's also one little thing that I would like to talk about, which is the combos in general, because we've seen that to be played in Ultraliga and EUEMasters and whatnot. But we're gonna come to this as this last sort of like standing point.
Yep.
But now coming into the bot lane. And I think we can try to like merge supports and the AD carries here together, because from my point of view, at the very least, what I see, we have somewhat of this ordinary rotation that we've seen most of the times. So we've got Zeri, we've got Jinx, we've got Aphelios, we've got Xayah. All right, she also made her big return. And then there's some things that just occasionally happen, like Reckless been playing Misfortune, right? Or we've seen Lucker playing Lucian. Lucian-Nami combination came back. We've seen Ezreal to be played too. But I feel like in the standard idea of it, what we have in its core is Jinx, Ezreal, Xayah, Zeri, Aphelios as those standing core champions of the AD carries.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, like Xayah is like by far the best AD carry. I think like most of the time it was like Bant, right? I feel Jinx like always gonna do their part, right? So like I feel Jinx actually was good for the teams for like playing towards bot side, and then just you need the AD carry who gonna win you the game of 3 items. That's all. Ezreal MF we saw like from Reckless, because as I said, K-Corp was the team who are like playing towards top side, so they need like sustain AD carry on bot side who can like cut the losses, clear the waves safely, you know, let your support just make a pressure on the map. So I think this is why like we saw like a lot of MFs and Ezreal from him. But yeah, I mean also like Lucian Lamb is like, I feel like Lucian Lamb is pretty good also, but I think it's people don't really like to play it in competitive because it's a kind of a flip. I mean, if you make a one mistake, it's gonna cost you a lot. So I think this is why like people don't really wanna jump on it that much. But I think like Lucian Lamb is pretty strong and have like potential for sure right now. And yeah, I mean overall I think like after like when it was like 3 or like 4 patches ago when Aphelios and Jinx especially got nerfed. We saw much more like AD carry comes in to the meta, not like before. You just like Jinx, Aphelios, Jinx every time.
Or but maybe Zarya occasionally, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I mean, Zarya, I forgot. Yeah, I mean, on EU Masters party, she was not nerfed, so she was like still like pretty OP. Yeah, like so, I mean, I think we saw still like some like different priority on it. Some teams just like jump on first pick in it. Some teams kind of ignore it and just like prefer to play like something else into her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like on the MSI patch, SR not gonna be that viable because yeah, like nerf hit hard and Bruiser build doesn't really deal damage anymore. You need to go the crit one, and yeah, like if you want to go crit one, just go like Aphelios, Jinx. They're just like much better lane, I think, to play with, and you have like much more options for but like support pick with them.
And I feel like this is the nerf in the beginning of it didn't really the nerf of Jinx, the one that we're talking about, didn't really help us to get out of this like AD carry void of only 2 champions spinning around you, and then we slowly progressed into what we have right now. And honestly, I feel this is probably the best in its own way, because if you look at it, yeah, a lot of champions are the same, that is true, but it's still a very big amount of champions that are being played, and it almost feels like you have approximately, not, of course, not as wide as mid lane, but approximately coming towards that direction. Because outside of what we have talked about, there's also some occasional picks that just pop up and people try to make it work, and it works even sometimes. We had Twitch being pulled out by Looker, which was an absolute delight to see, because the same with the combination of Lucian and Nami, and then when it comes to Twitch, my minds are just connected with AD carry for Gadget, who was playing Twitch in the Worlds, if you remember that big play that happened there. I don't remember though against who, but that was in the qualification stage. And then of course when it comes to Lucian and Nami, you're always going to remember Hans Sama performance with the Rogue Miracle Run that they have almost pulled off.
Yeah.
So it's a delight to see so many AD carries. And then you look at the supports, and I feel like we don't get that much of it to the support role, because Nautilus still dominates, Leona still dominates, and Rakan still dominates as probably one of the most viable supports. Like, these 3 are just all around the place.
I mean, yeah, I think like right now the people were just like, yeah, we just want to engage on suppers, so yeah, we just pick Nautilus, Leon, or Rakan. That's all. Like, not that much. Of course, we saw like some different. We saw like Yuumi right on the finals.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff. But I think like in general, right, like 90% of the games, people just want like as much engage as they can, right? Because yeah, if you have like a lot of tools to engage, you have much more options to take a fight on your terms. Like just I think if you pick like engage supporters, give much more flexibility to other champions, right? To like not having engage, for example, like in jungle or like top side. So yeah, I think support was just again like yeah, we just need to engage, guys. Just pick now Nautilus, Leon, or like Rakan, what is open, right? And that's all.
Yeah, and I mean, it pays off, right? It does pay off, but there's also some other supports that sometimes pop up, because, for example, until recently we saw a lot of Renato Glask. Now we see her, but quite rarely, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes see Braum.
we didn't see that much, I think, Renata. I mean, I still think like Renata one of the best support overall right now, if not the best one, because I mean she's actually like, yeah, I mean she has engaged. Let's be honest, not like
does.
insane, right? Like Nautilus probably, but yeah, like her ultimate is like the best disengage on a like planet probably. You cannot so like you cannot fight in jungle versus Renata. Like
No.
she has a range support. Remember, so it's pretty hard to play lane versus her. But she also builds like a tank, right? So you're not able to one shot her. So yeah, I mean Renata one of the best, but yeah, I mean, like I think it's just much easier to execute champions like Leona on or Nautilus than Renata. But at MSI we're gonna see a lot of Renata. I'm pretty sure of that.
I'm actually pretty sure as well, because it feels like this is going to be one of those supports that can deliver us this very big plays, right? The moment when you think, yep, that engage just saves everything, right? Maybe we can see an interesting shift coming from Ago, actually, because Leon, who was a support for Agarog for the entirety of the summer split, wasn't able to perform. And instead, we had Binsu. And Binsu is actually not a support. He was a top laner for the most of his life. And then he just, pops out of the blue, and starts to play supports.
I mean, from what I know, yeah, like, but from what I know, he like rerolled a support before, but I don't think he played competitive support.
No.
And he just took this opportunity from Agorok to sub in.
And look at what we have. So we have most of the times we have supports, but we also seen set to be played. And when I was looking at it and thinking about it, can we actually see some of long forgotten top lane champions like Maokai or Shen, for example, the one that we haven't seen in a long time now?
I mean, yeah, but we didn't see them because they got like straight up nerfed on the support role. But they just like get nerfed on a basic damage. But I mean, probably we're not gonna see new champions as far as like Nautilus and Leona keep like not getting nerfed, right? And or like it should be like insane meta change on top side, kind of like it was like before when, for example, we remember like Bruisers was like really strong before the Bruiser item nerf, and we saw a lot of like Lulu scene, right? We saw Yumi's just because they just make this Bruiser just go like 1v5 and kill everyone. But right now, yeah, I mean, if we're not gonna see this kind of a shift on top side, I think we're gonna still see just engage bots.
Yeah, and just stick to the old column. Though I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see some of those interesting new picks introduced to the support role. Actually, thinking of it, maybe we're gonna see Bard as well in the MSI. I feel like this is gonna be one of those supports that might be.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, not sure. Not definitely not in the super important matches, I think.
Probably not in the super important ones, but the ultimate itself is a pretty good also disengage engage tool, right?
Yeah,
kind of close to not as good as what Renata has, but also pretty viable if you know and you want to execute it. And pretty much the last thing that I want to talk about right now is the insane combos, or quote-unquote insane combos.
Yeah.
Because Agarok, together with Team Eska, and I think some other teams as well, but for the most part, it was Agarok and Team Eska. They really tried to pull off some insane combinations and insane drafts. So we've seen them play Gwen, Rengar, Ivern, Soraka, Nautilus, right? Which is absolutely subnormal. We've seen Eska to try to go for some mid lane assassins into Cannon, for example, right? So that it works even more perfectly. And we've seen them to play Diana and Yasuo as a good combination of ultimates. But I have a feeling that it is pretty much safe to say that these combinations don't really work.
I mean, I think they're like fine. I mean, like especially like a Rengar Ivern, I think is like pretty good. I understand like, I mean, LS was like forcing a lot of like mid Ivern, right? I don't think it's like super broken, but in some situations could be good. And Rengar got like pretty huge buff overall, and yeah, I mean we just like don't have like many Rengar players. I think currently, but as a champion, he has a potential for sure. So like, yeah, I mean, this like Ivan Rengar, if they're picked in the right situations, is good. But I think like most of the time we just like they just pick it and that's all. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we see Ivan, we just pick like Victor on mid lane, and the Victor just scales for free because we can't really like punish him somehow. And yeah, I think this comp is like for sure makes sense, you know, and they can work. But you need to pick them like later on. You cannot pick like them earlier, right? And you need to like understand it also. I mean, this is why like they are not meta, because yeah, they would be meta if you can just like 1-2 them and then yeah, you just win versus everything. Then it would be meta, but it's not, just because it's not like winning most of the times. There's like a lot of problems, and yeah, the same goes with like Saraka ADC. I think yeah, it's good to buff your top side, but yeah, like it's if games goes late, I mean not like late, but mid game when the AD start finishing like free items, then you're clearly on a downside already, and it's pretty hard to play the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the most common thing between all this situation, all these compositions, they kind of rely on doing something early game and getting lead early game, and then use this lead correctly to transition into like objectives and win. And people were just like, yeah, okay, guys, like they pick some weird stuff. We just don't do anything. And I think on your Masteros team was like not able to accelerate their lead properly, even if they had one. And this is why we saw like it didn't work out, right? More, but I think we can see like probably like from G2, you know, like we can like easily see like Rengar Ivan, this kind of stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, just because like yeah, I mean I think like at MSI there's like much more teams who like if they get like something, they can make it into like pretty huge lead. So we can see a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, I mean I think you must have just. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, Agarok was like they were trying to surprise a lot. They had like a lot of interesting picks, but yeah, most of the time didn't really work out.
Well, I mean, they have shown that that Rabble is a very good Rengar player, just in general, and
yep.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I just feel like it is interesting to see those combos. For at the very least for me as a caster, because when I see that, I just know I'm in for a very fun ride, right? Because if it works, I am gonna lose my mind over it, and I'm gonna be super happy to see it. So
yeah,
it's always interesting and fun to see stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's important to mention, like, yeah, like from the viewer point of view, it's it's in the casters, a lot of fun, right? To see something new, something out of the meta. Of course, it's like, yeah, make you happy. You don't want to watch like 0-0 50 minutes games, of course. It's kind of boring, but yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for the team is to win the game and not to make it like
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not implying there that the teams are there just to make us feel fun. Of course not, right? No, nobody. I mean, you have a lot on the line to try to win those games, so it's not about this. But there's always, let's say, 3-ish perspectives, I would say, right? Because there's one perspective of you as a player or as a coach, for example, or anyone who's basically in the competitive side of it, right? Then there's another perception of people who are, let's say, the broadcast team. And then there's another perception of viewers. And we all three, we come to this a little bit differently. We approach it a little bit differently, right? There's no right or wrong here. It's just, this guy's doing it this and this and that. So it's interesting to compare those feelings and emotions. And to be honest, I would give a lot to talk with to talk with Rogue, to actually like realize, guys, how does it feel to play something like that in a competitive scene?
Yeah.
So let's. I think it was extremely interesting to see all of those champions that we've seen. It's fun. So right now, I'm kind of interested to try and bring out where we see at the beginnings of the MSI, because from my perspective, what we're gonna see is somewhat similar to the LFL, let's say, like finals drafts. Something a bit more safe to try and see what everybody has been scrimming, what everybody has been preparing, you know, whether they're training and stuff like that, and don't force anything too big from the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, we're gonna see something, like, some crazy stuff for sure, because, yeah, like, it's important to know, like, new patch, and then was, like, no competitive games on this patch, so I'm pretty sure, like, there is gonna be, like, a lot of chaos in first, like, 2 days. And it's like, yeah, it's like important to stay calm, you know, and not like, oh my god, this is broken, this is broken, because yeah, I think more like we're gonna see the clear meta more close to the playoffs, I think, because yeah, first 2 days gonna be Clown Fiesta, then people gonna like teams will try to adapt to like what they think is the best. And what is working, what is not in official games, and yeah, I mean, those playoffs we're gonna probably like see already like stable meta, like this, and on the playoffs we're gonna already like see the clear level of the teams. You know, I'm not gonna like yeah, I mean, I don't think even like T1 gonna complete like stomp everything, right? Because of this factor, you know. But yeah, pretty sure like later on when they like figure it out everything, they're gonna be like much more stronger, I feel like.
And this is going to be actually a very interesting to compare the regular part of MSI, and then when coming into the playoffs. I hope we will get a chance to do that, because that would be super fun to do. All right, so I think we can go into our almost weekly what it looks like to be a solo queue best champions to climb, based on very unbiased information, wink wink, and strictly on statistics, wink wink.
Let's go.
So, top lane. Ladies and gentlemen, the queen of the top lane in patch 12.8, despite receiving no direct changes in the recent patches, is Kayle.
Yeah.
Not Kayle, Kayle.
Okay.
So we have 52.65% win rate and a 2.5% ban rate, and she's edging out Quinn, Cassio, and Pantheon. In jungle,
respectable.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, right?
Yeah.
In jungle, we have Nocturne, the one that we have praised a little bit today.
Oof.
We have this highest win rate in the jungle by the slimmest of margins. It's 52.75%. With a 6.9% ban rate, and he has surpassed Volibear by how much? By 0.07%.
Okay. I mean, not bad for Nocturne.
And there's also Rengar and Rammus. There's Rammus in there.
I mean, Rammus is always there. I mean, I remember Rammus was like top 1 in winner jungle for like 10 seasons probably. Something like this.
Amazing. I love him. See, that means that he's going to appear on the pro scene. Wink, wink. See, that is prediction.
Probably not, but yeah.
That is not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Coming into the mid lane, we see an incredible 53.15% win rate coming from Pyke.
Yeah.
And he has a mammoth.
It's actually he got he gonna get reworked, I think, next patch, right? If I remember correctly, when they gonna make a correlation between his support stacks and his execute damage on ultimate. So he's not that stronger in mid lane. But
very
yeah,
experimental. But tomorrow on PBE, yeah, pikers are getting infinite execute thresholds. Yep.
yeah. So you can abuse guys for now, but yeah, probably the next patch is not that good.
Also, you can play Pantheon in the mid lane, you can play Rumble in the mid lane, and you can play Zillion. And they come quite actually close to Pyke. Pantheon is 53.10, Rumble is 52.60, so, you know, there's a little bit of versatility in there.
Yeah.
Bot lane incoming, and we have the King of Dead. We have Karthus.
King of Death?
I think so. Isn't he King of Death?
No, I thought King of Death is like Yorick, you know? Something like this.
He's just an Undertaker.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
Wait, I'm gonna... The Death Singer.
Yeah, Death Singer.
He's the Lightbringer. For someone who listened to the Penico, he's gonna know what that is. So he has the 53.50% win rate. He beats people like Seraphine, Veigar, and Ziggs. As for traditional AD carries, Gogmal, Twitch, and Tristana are top of the tables, actually with less win rate than Karthus. And then we have support. And who do you think is the supreme supporter?
Nautilus, I think.
No, Renata Glosk.
Okay. But close one.
Yeah, it is a very close one, and it's someone you love, so that's okay.
I mean, this guy is accurate, not gonna lie, because yeah, like Renata is strong and competitive, strong in solo queue. Yeah, right, nerf time.
Yeah, nerf time, wink wink. It's 52.77% win rate. She's the best at the best of the best in support position according to these stats. And Janna and Sana actually sit closely behind her with 52.64 and 52.40% win rates. So that is your dream team of solo queue by this Champions Queue EUEdition. I gotta be honest. I like the name of our thing, but it's hard to pronounce it sometimes.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. This is how it's supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
So people can remember, you know. If they learn it once, they will never forget it.
Exactly. It's like you train very hard, you'll be able to say it, and then you say it forever. Okay. Thank you very much, Zanzarah. That was very, very fun. I hope that everybody enjoyed it as well, because I sure did. And we're probably going to be back in about 2 weeks with some more hot takes on how the MSI is going and what can we expect and how the meta is slowly shifting toward what we should be seeing. But we will see how things are gonna play out. So thank you one more time.
No problem. Happy to help. I'm all there, guys.
And thank you everybody for listening. We are extremely happy that you have interest in that podcast, and we will continue to deliver as long as you enjoy it. So thank you very much, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.